How good are the new Duskmourn Overlords with Enigmatic Incarnation and Pioneer? That's what we're going to find out today. So here is our Enigmatic Incarnation Overlords deck for Pioneer, and this deck is super sweet. We're built around Enigmatic Incarnation. In this card, it's seen playing Pioneer for a while. It's a 4-mana enchantment that on our end step lets us essentially birthing pod an enchantment into a creature. We can sack an enchantment and then find a creature with the enchantment's mana value +1, put it directly on the battlefield. And this card works incredibly well with the new Duskmourn Overlords for a whole bunch of different reasons. It's almost like someone at Wizards must have had an Enigmatic Incarnation deck for Pioneer and wanted to build some cards that were really good at it, because it's like kind of mind-blowing how perfect these cards are with Enigmatic Incarnation. So why are these cards so absurd with Enigmatic Incarnation? Well, first off, they're high mana value enchantments that we can cast on the cheap thanks to Impending. So this lets us do some crazy stuff, like we can Overlord of the Boiler Biggles for 4 mana, but then sack it and get a 7-drop like Overlord of the Mistmorts, or we can Overlord of the Hauntwoods for 3 mana with its Impending cost, but then sack it and get a 6-drop like Overlord of the Boiler Biggles. So they work really well in that regard. The other thing that makes these cards so good is they're enchantments that are also creatures. So along with being sacrificable to Enigmatic Incarnation, since they're creatures, we can also find them with Enigmatic Incarnation, which sets up a pretty sweet curve where we can like Overlord of the Hauntwoods, get the Everywhere land, sack an Enigmatic Incarnation, get Overlord of the Boiler Biggles, deal some damage, sack the Boiler Biggles, get Overlord of the Mistmort, make a bunch of tokens, use them to win the game. So the Overlords are just so incredibly good in this deck. We're also a Yorion deck, but Yorion's our companion. It also works really well with all the Overlords. We can impend them and then Yorion blink them to get them back in creature form and reuse their ETB triggers. They're also really good with Up the Beanstalk. That's the other big Overlord synergy in this deck, because they all have high enough mana value that they trigger Up the Beanstalk, even if we cast them on the cheap with their impending cost. So being able to like Overlord of the Hauntwoods for 3 mana, but still draw with Up the Beanstalk is just kind of ridiculous. As far as the rest of the deck, it's really all about the curve for Enigmatic Incarnation. So we get a bunch of 2-mana enchantments, like High Noon, really good against Phoenix decks, Nylea's Presence, Up the Beanstalk, Roaring Furnace's removal, and we can sack those to get things like Night of Autumn, Skyclave Apparition, Glasspool Mimic to copy something. Then we have 3-mana enchantments like Fable the Mirror Breaker, we can sack to get Biza or Heliod. Heliod can get back another enchantment and start the loop over. Our only 4-mana enchantment is Enigmatic Incarnation itself. We can't sack Enigmatic Incarnation to its own ability, but if we have 2 of them, we can sack an extra one to get an Overlord of the Hauntwoods or an Elvish Norn to double up all of our Overlord triggers. And then we have our 5-mana enchantments, and this is also where our rooms are really good, because a card like Roaring Furnace Steaming Sauna, its mana value on the battlefield depends on what room is open. So we can play it as a 2-mana value enchantment, sack it to get a 3-drop, or we can play it as a 5-mana value enchantment, sack it to get a 6-drop like Overlord of the Boiler Biggles, and then finally we can sack our 6-drops, Overlord of the Boiler Biggles, Leyline Binding, to get Overlord of the Mistmorts or Atraxa, or 2 big finishers. So that's basically the goal of the deck. As far as the mana base, just look at the deck list. I'm not going to show every land here, but it is a massive pile of Triomes and Chalk lands and Verges and Channel lands and basic lands. In the sideboard, for control, we have Dovin's Veto, Reckoner, Bankbuster, a bunch of different removal options, and another Biza for aggro, and then some Graveyard Hate and Rest in Peace and Kutzel's Flanker. And that is Enigmatic Overlords for Pioneer. That's our deck for today. So let's jump into some games and see just how good the new Duskmourn Overlords can be in Pioneer with the help of Enigmatic Incarnation. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. Much brew about nothing time. We are doing some pioneering this week, checking out the new Duskmourn Overlords with Enigmatic Incarnation, and yeah, this hand looks pretty good. We need another land at some point, but we got some early game removal. We got High Noon, my new favorite card in Pioneer that just randomly wrecks some people. Let's play the Verge, and yeah, I mean, I think we play the High Noon. I don't even know if this is a good High Noon matchup. What does Darkslake Shores mean in this format? Wow, Spell Pierce. All right, sure. Well, better that than like a Incarnation or something getting countered. Bonnet Island. We draw more Leyline Bindings. Well, play it untapped. Grab the Yorion. We need another green source for this Overlord. We're so close to doing the explosive thing, but about it. Oh, they're a mill deck. Well, thankfully, we have a lot of expensive cards in our deck. There we go. All right, play the land. And let's get down Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Impendingly. And pass the turn. That turns on our Leyline Bindings. What did they exile? Elishnorn. Oh, they did get the Overlord of the Mistmoors. So we can Incarnation sack this to get a 6, which is probably Red Overlord. Opponent passing. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Well, let's play the Fable. Get a Gabo and pass the turn. We're gonna wait on the Enigmatic Incarnation. I feel like our opponent could easily be leaving up counter spells. Opponent Fatal Pushes, sure. Actually, maybe they're rogues, but rogues wants cards in the graveyard. Tasha's Hideous Laughter doesn't seem great in rogues. And I would like to be able to pay for the Spell Pierce before we Enigmatic Incarnation if we could. Passing. Well, let's discard Torch the Tower. Yeah, let's just discard Torch the Tower. Get another land, play the Verge. And, I mean, I think the time has come. Enigmatic Incarnation. Let's see if we got a hard counter. Spell Pierce is not going to do it. This gets bad very quickly if it resolves. All right, they want to use their Demolition Field, but we'll float a mana. Nah, it doesn't really matter. Grab a Forest. Man, the Everywhere land's so good. Like, the Everywhere land means that we still have all land types, even through our opponent Demolition Fielding. Do a little Enigmatic Incarnationing? Okay, so what's in our graveyard? High Noon Torch the Tower. The question is, do we want to get a 4? Or do we sack this to get a 6? I kind of think we just sack the Fable. Yeah, let's just sack the Fable and get a 4. I think what we do is sack the Fable, get a Heliod, get back the Fable. And then we can do it again next turn. About it. There's the Fatal Push. The other thing that we can do, and that we might do, is run out of Leyline Binding so we can get a Troxa. The fact that the Overlords are enchantments and enchantment creatures is so good in this deck. Let's play Yariad. Yeah, let's do it. Let's play Leyline Binding. I mean, we got 2 of them. It is weird that it's not answering anything, but it's so good with Enigmatic Incarnation, I don't think it matters. All right, they're going to kill the Yarion. That is acceptable. All right, we get the Leyline Binding. Stomping Grounds tapped. End of turn. Let's get back our Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Get another land. Sack the Leyline Binding. Get a Troxa. Do a little refueling. And things are looking pretty good. I mean, maybe as a mill deck, maybe our opponent doesn't mind us drawing a bunch with the Troxa. Ouch. A land. Torch the Tower. Roaring Furnace, Steaming. Actually, no. Overlord. I think that makes the most sense. The upside of enchantment creatures. Overlord of the Boiler Biggles can be our enchantment with a Troxa, can be our creature with a Troxa. Our hand is pretty full of action. These cards are so incredible, opponent around in the lock. The cards are so incredible with Enigmatic Incarnation because we can impending them to get them on the battlefield on the cheap, but they're also enchantments, so we can use them as tutor targets or sack fodder for Enigmatic Incarnation. It's almost like they were built to make Enigmatic Incarnation good. They're so good with it. We would like to close out the game. I mean, it's also kind of hilarious that our poor mill opponent ran into the Yarion deck. A bunch of extra cards. Opponent's trying. They're fighting the good fight, but the power of the Overlords might be a bit much. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so hit ya. So I think what we do here is impending an Overlord of the Hauntwoods. We can sack that to get a Boiler Biggles. Impending a Overlord of the Boiler Biggles. Do a little Boiler Biggling at your face. Hit you for 4. Opponent down to 9. Play a Triome, and end of turn, do a little sacking. So Overlord of the Hauntwoods can get Boiler Biggles number 2 into the story to draw a bunch of cards, sure. I mean, those need to be very good cards for our opponent. We will, wait, where's our oh no, oh no. Where's our Boiler Biggles? Did they, oh, they milled it. Oh, I'm dumb. All right, oops. Well, I guess we should have left that out. We should have checked. Yeah, Boiler Biggles. There's only 2 Boiler Biggles. Number 2 had been milled. I guess we should have looked at that first. All right, that's fine. That's fine. Well, opponent has a handful of cards. We do need to be able to get in 9 more points of damage somehow. We've used our Heliod. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. That was a pretty good one. Down to 34 cards. Passes. Ugh, drowned in the lock. Alright, this might be going poorly. Fable the Mirror Breaker. And Cycle of Jatmir's Garden. And Cycle of Jatmir's Garden. Play a Stomping Grounds tapped. Alright, now we gotta look at our deck list and look through what's been exiled. Alright, so our other 4 is Biza. Has Biza been exiled? No. Okay, so end of turn. Do we want to sack the Fable? I think we actually wait. I think we actually wait one more turn. Opponent, Mervoke Secret Keeper. And a Fatal Push. Wait, are we going to end up losing to this deck? We draw a Roaring Furnace. Well, definitely discarding Torch the Tower. There's another Overlord. Well, let's Roaring Furnace. Alright, opponent's going to counter. We draw a card. Well, let's Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Opponent has a Drown in the Lock. Well, play the land. Enigmatic Incarnation. Go to our end step. Oh, man. Okay, well, let's make sure. Do we have... We should have one Overlord there. 2, 3, 4. We're just running out of stuff to tutor up. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just have to pass. This is so awkward. Okay, maybe Mill is way more awkward than I realized. Our opponent, they've just exiled all of our win cons. Secret Keeper. Well, there goes a Knight of Autumn. Yeah, we're just like running out of ways to kill our opponent is the issue we're having. We do have this Boiler Biggles that's about to unimpend, but our opponent still has another card. Runs out of Secret Keeper. Sure. Well, let's see if they get more removal. Yeah, we're just like running out of threats. Well, Fable the Mirror Breaker. Let's pass the turn. Get a bunch of triggers. We are not going to sack anything. Nothing left to tutor up. Pass the turn. So if our opponent tries to kill the Boiler Biggles, we can Tuara it back to hand. Passing. Well, okay. Well, Reflection. Copy the Overlord. Hit you for 4. Wow, I think we got there. Leyline Binding. If our opponent had removal, they would have cast it, right? There's no way they let us copy with Kiki Jiki. Opponent's gonna counter and give us a card, sure. Leyline Binding? I mean, our opponent could just concede. They should be dead to us attacking here, but they're not conceding. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we I guess we get there in the end. Yeah, Mill is actually a scary matchup. I didn't think about that because if you look at the deck list, so we want to use Enigmatic Incarnation like a birthing pod, but a lot of the spots in our curve only have like 2 or 3 creatures, right? We have 2 4s. We have, I guess, 5 5s, but there's like 2 7s. So if our opponent just happens to mill the correct thing, it can really throw off our Enigmatic Incarnation chain, which we saw as we sacked for no reason and lost a impending Overlord for nothing. So opponent's playing Mill. So we can bring in Rest in Peace, Dovin's Vetoes for days. I could see the Bankbusters being good. High Noon does not seem great. Portable Hole does not seem like it does anything. They're not rogues, right? We would have seen rogues. That was a pretty long game. I think we would have seen some rogues if they were playing rogues. Plus, rogues just like... Tasha's Hideous Laughter is not great in rogues. So I'm imagining it's just straight up Mill. Flanker's probably worth it. Maybe Elspeth Conquers Death? That is a way we can get something back from the graveyard that gets milled. Yeah, let's try it like that. All right, on to game number 2. Don't mill our good stuff, opponent. The Dobin's Veto should help. Those should help. Those are a big deal. What a weird matchup. I mean, the good news in the matchup is... Ooh, there's a Up the Beanstalk that's probably going to mill us out. The good news in the matchup is we do have a lot of cards in our deck. The bad news is our opponent can mill them. Up the Beanstalk. How do we feel about that, opponent? All right, Long River's Pull gives us a card. Untaps Island and Fraying Sanity. All right. That is a little scary. Let's just... Yeah, I mean, I think we got to get a threat down. Let's get down the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. That Fraying Sanity is an issue. Still doesn't really work with Tasha's Hideous Laughter, but it works with everything else. Opponent. Jace the Perfected Mind. Are we just milling 30 here and hoping for the best? Alright, opponent's just gonna mill us. Yep. Well, there goes 30 cards. That is almost half of our deck. Do we want to discard anything? I guess we discard this Roaring Furnace. Fair. Draw a Roaring Furnace. Well, get in with the Goblin. Hit ya. Temple Garden untapped. Fable the Mirrorbreaker number 2. I think at this point we're kind of priced. Yeah, we get milled for 1. At this point we're kind of priced into leaving up this veto forever, I think. Pound I land. And feed the Swarm. Sure. So anything that goes to our graveyard, our opponent's going to mill for on the end step. So I guess we want to minimize putting things in the graveyard. Found it. Passes. Mills for 1. Ooh, Elspeth Conquers Death. So I think we're just going to decline, even though there is stuff we would like to discard. Let's go to combat, get in, hit you. Make a few treasures. I think we're okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We might just Elspeth Conquers Death. Drown in the Lock of Token, sure. Well, now I think we definitely Elspeth Conquers Death. Opponent also waited until we attacked, which is nice. Elspeth Conquers Death. Our super secret sneaky sideboard tech. Yes, Fraying Sanity, thank goodness. Out of here, play the Triome. The funny thing is, if our opponent was playing against a non-Yarion deck, like a normal deck, I think that Fraying Sanity Jace probably would have beat us. But because we're an 80 card deck, we could take the mill of 30 and it wasn't actually that impactful. In some ways it might be an upside. Feed the Swarm on the Fable, sure. I mean, opponent's out of cards and we get to reanimate next turn and we keep drawing Fables. Let's go to combat. Hit ya. Down to 8. Let's impend an Overlord here. Impend an Overlord. Pass the turn. About it. I mean, with a veto in hand, I feel like we're in a really good spot. Oh, we're definitely in a really good spot. Elspeth Conquers Death. We will snag a Boiler Biggles, and I think that does it. Boiler Biggles to the face. Boiler Biggles, so good. Found it down to 4 and go to combat and hit ya. And, well, we overcame the mill. Opponent even had the black enchantment removal, and it wasn't enough. And that is the power of the Overlords. The deck might be pretty sweet. The Overlords are just so good in this deck. Well, sweet, sweet. Much brew about nothing time. We are pioneering this week with some Overlord Incarnation, and we're going to keep this. I mean, this hand does need another land, but we don't have any of our expensive stuff, which is nice, because we really want the expensive stuff. Oh god, is this Control Kahira? Probably. This should be interesting. We don't have any of our expensive stuff, which is good. We have the Up the Beanstalk for once we find it. Yeah, opponent's definitely playing Control. Well, let's see how this goes. Up the Beanstalk, draw a card. Ooh, not a land. We really wanted to land there. Really, really, really wanted to land there. Well, if we miss this land, it's really bad for us. Opponent, get lost. Up the Beanstalk, land. All right, that works. That works. So we find the land. I think we just impending the Overlord. Get our ramp on, get our mana fix, turn on our Leyline Bindings. Is High Noon worth it against Control? It does mean they can only cast 1 counter a turn. Found it. Narset. Well, alright, so we're gonna have to kill that, or answer that. Found it. Gonna do some digging. So I think we probably Leyline Binding plus Fable, I guess? Opponent finds a March. Well, let's play the Fable. Play the Leyline Binding while our opponent's tapped out. We do miss our land drop, which is not ideal.
Such violence is upsetting.
Take down the Overlord. Fountain Port. And temporary lockdown. Alright. I mean, gets a couple tokens, I guess. We draw another Leyline Binding. Well, let's discard, I think, both High Noons here. Well, Fable Fable Part 2, I guess? And Stomping Grounds? Go. Well, I mean, we're one turn away from the Overlord. Field of Ruin for our opponent. Passes. Oh, another up the beanstalk's pretty nice. All right, let's pitch the portable hole. I don't think we're going to pitch... Yeah, we're going to keep the Roaring Furnace. And we draw a land. It's a bit tapped, but it is a land. Well, go to combat. Get in with the Goblin. Hit ya. Could definitely see our opponent setting up for a Wrath next turn. That seems very possible. Let's play Glasspool Shores as a land. Grab the Yarion. Yeah, I think we just gotta pass. Because I am very convinced there's a Sunfall or something happening. The way this sets up... A Memory Deluge. The way this sets up, this is the perfect turn, I think, for opponent to Wrath. They get the Overlord. So we're hoping that if they do Wrath, we can follow it up by, like, Up the Beanstalk, Yarion, something like that, and refuel a bit while our opponents tap down. That's the plan. If they have Farewell, which would be an absolute disaster, then they probably just win. Then they get back the Narset. Oh god, they actually do. Artifacts, creatures, enchantments, but not graveyard. So we'll sack this. This is bad. So opponent exiles everything. They get back their Narset. Yeah, I guess we let it go. If we wait, we can up the... Well, that stops the draw anyway. All right, let's... Leyline Binding. Get rid of the Narset.
This was overwhelming.
Up the Beanstalk. Draw a card. Overlord. Impend it. Draw a card. Hit you for 4. Play the tap land. Yeah, Farewell. Farewell is a blowout. We know our opponent has an answer to the Up the Beanstalk. Passing. Well, play the Verge. I think we just... Steaming Sauna here, draw a card. We can pay for the No More Lies. I feel like this is a matchup that should get at least somewhat better after sideboarding. All right, we're gonna pay. If we got another one, that's fine. Can't really do anything about 2 of them. At least we got them out of hand. All right, No More Lies, No More Lies. Yup, we still get to draw the card. All right, another Up the Beanstalk. Well, pass. I mean, we're trying. We're fighting and clawing and trying to stay in this one. Found it. Deduce to draw a card and make a clue. Gonna be a long one. All right, there's the March to get the Beanstalk. Yup, about it. Passing. Well, let's up the Beanstalk. Draw a card. Up the Beanstalk. Draw a card. Overlord. Draw 2 cards. I mean, we are keeping up in cards somehow, thanks to these Up the Beanstalks. Hit you for 4. Yeah, play the Sacred Foundry, tap, pass turn. I mean, if we could just Yarion blink the Boiler Biggles, that would be game with our opponent at 8. Oh, I'm really worried about another Farewell. Found it. Memory Deluge. How many Farewells can they possibly... How many Farewells does Pioneer Control play? How many can they possibly play? It's got to be like 1, right? You can't play more than 1 Farewell. That would be ridiculous. Typically 1. Passing. Yarion? Draw a couple cards. Blink the Boiler Biggles for the win. Overlord? Overlords for the kill. Do you have a counter? Or 2? About it. Oh, Desperation. Desperate Memory Deluge. Trying to find a counter. They need to find like a Dovin's... Dovin's Veto doesn't do it. Do they have a hard counter? We can pay for a No More Lies. I guess if they have 2 No More Lies, that would do it. This is our only Yarion. All right, opponent's going to get lost a Boiler Biggles. So this does technically keep them alive. All right, we draw a Portable Hole. We draw land. Yarion resolves. And yeah, I think we just blink everything. I don't think we're going to play anything else this turn. Play the Hinterland Harbor. Crack some maps. Yeah, we'll keep a Fable. That's fine. Can we get through these last 4 points of damage down to 4? We draw a couple of cards. Found it. Cracks the clue. Oh, we're so close. The thing about control is, like, they don't really care about their life total until it hits 0. Like, once they gain control of the game, life totals don't really matter. Passing. Well, let's cycle a Triome. Find a land. Let's play the land. Play Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Make a goblin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's... we're gonna draw anyway. It doesn't really matter. Let's Biza. Yeah, let's just crack the map on the Biza. We just gotta keep metering out our threats to play through the Wraths. We need to just... Our opponent's at 4. So the goal is every turn... Well, there's the 4th Memory Deluge. Every turn we just want to present a lethal board state and make our opponent deal with it until eventually they run out of the ability to deal with it. Because they are like slowly working through their removal, their Wraths. So that's the idea. Just keep presenting the lethal threats until our opponent eventually cannot stop the lethal threats while opponent passes. Okay. Well, we will discard a couple of cards. I was going to cycle a Triome, but forgot. I don't think it really matters. Opponent needs an answer of some kind. Wandering Emperor. Yeah, we can't really stop that. Down to 4. Let's play an Elishnor and draw a couple cards. Play the land. Impend Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Draw a couple cards. And there's finally an Enigmatic Incarnation. Let's just... Torch the tower, get rid of the Wandering Emperor.
Until next.
What would we tutor up? Let's say we do play it. What are we going to tutor up? We've used all of our Boiler Biggles. Oh, I know what we need to do. Okay, do we play it? So we could Enigmatic Incarnation, sack the Fable to get a Heliod, to get back a Boiler Biggles. Yeah, I think we just pass. We just pass for now. We just pass. We have once again presented lethal, which is the goal about it. March of Otherworldly Light to get rid of the Elishnor. Well, discard a Sacred Foundry. All right, opponent, not giving up. And Shark Typhoon. We're going to have to answer that at some point. Well, we flip the Fable. Make a treasure. Hit you to 2. Overlord of the Mistmoors. Impending it, draw a couple cards. I wish we had a lightning bolt. Make a couple flyers. Enigmatic Incarnation. Do we have a counter for this? Alright, opponent vetoes, makes a 2-2. Well, let's Nylea's Presence on whatever. Draw a land. Well, let's Portable Hold the Shark. Alright, opponent, gonna sack to draw. Sure. Play a Breeding Pool tapped. Pass the turn. Unimpend. Can we please close out this game? Opponent, 4 cards in hand. 4 Memory Deluges in the graveyard. Opponent has a Sunfall. Wraths away the board. Oh, are we not gonna get through these last 2 points of damage? Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Oh, wow. Are we going to lose this? Are we going to actually lose this one? Wow, how's the clock looking? We're actually ahead on clock a little bit. Opponent. Going to put our Overlord back in our library. Well, we draw another one. Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Draw a couple cards. All right, Torch the Tower is nice. That can get rid of the Teferi. So we make a land. Torch the Tower. Get rid of the Teferi. Overlord of the Hauntwoods, impend it, draw a couple cards. Portable Hole, get rid of the Shark, and Steam Vents tapped, and pass the turn. Unimpend. This match. Found it, and... Passing. We draw useless land. So they can make a 7/7 by casting a Memory Deluge. And we can't get rid of the Shark Typhoon. Well, play the Temple Garden. No attacks. I think we might be in trouble here. Unimpend and impend. The 7/7 is going to be very big. Yeah, there's the Memory Deluge. Makes a 7/7. Oh, makes a 4/4 shark. Well, that's still big. Opponent draws a couple cards. Turns on the Incubate. Passes. Well, there's an Incarnation finally. Well, let's play a Portable Hole. Play an Incarnation. Come on. Oh, opponent's got a veto. Well, play the land. Go to combat. Attack. We're not even drawing anything that lets us trigger our up the beanstalk. Blocks and blocks. Well, considering we're not really super set up for control, we're doing well. Like, we're so close. Oh, God. And there's a Wandering Emperor.
You're just underwhelming.
Grows the shark. Well, okay. Skyclave. Get rid of the Wandering Emperor. We have so much mana and so little to do with it. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier, where control, like, the life total isn't super relevant. All that's relevant is taking control of the game. And I am, wow. I am not at all confident that we will be able to get in 2 points of damage here. 5. So this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So our opponent can hit us to 1 here, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how much sideboarding helps. Being able to bring in a pile of Dovin's vetoes. We just never could stick an Incarnation to get the... We have an answer to Shark Typhoon in Night of Autumn. We just could never stick an Incarnation to get it. Found it. He's going to make it 2/2. I mean, we need a top deck or we are dead. And even if we have a top deck, there's this huge wall of sharks. Enigmatic Incarnation. Good card, but is it good enough? We will play an Incarnation. Do they actually have another answer? We know they can Memory Deluge again. March of Otherworldly Light. I don't even know if there's anything left in our deck worth getting. We can't get a Troxa. We can get a 6. Our 6s are gone. We can get a 3 to blow up. Well, I guess we can get a Troxa. Yeah, man, this is very bad. So we need to sacrifice... Oh, this is so bad. We need to sacrifice the Leyline Binding to get the Atraxa. This is our only shot. And even this is not a very realistic shot. Opponent gets back the Narset. We get a land, a Torch the Tower, and a Leyline Binding. Let's Leyline Binding. Sadly, we don't get to draw any cards because there's a Narset. Get rid of the Narset. Opponent untaps. The problem is we know they can just Memory Deluge again. Go 7 cards deep again. Find an answer to the Atraxa. And then we're dead. Oh, yeah. Control might be a bad matchup. It might be. We were so close. That's the brutal part against control. It's just like a shock. We need a shock. We're a shock away. And we just could not get through that last point of damage. Opponent, March of Otherworldly Light for 7. I believe this means we're dead, right? 8. Now we're super dead unless we high roll with this Triumph. Opponent goes on the big attack. We will cycle a Triumph. We gotta hit a Leyline Binding, I think. Overlord, that's not gonna do it. So we can Torch the Tower to kill. We block here. 8, 17. Yeah, we're dead. All right. Well, control, doing control things. Let's see if the sideboard changes it. Let's see if sideboard changes it. So we get to get rid of these horrible Torch the Towers, these horrible, horrible Portable Holes, these horrible High Noons. I mean, we have a lot of cards to take out. So we get to take out a ton of cards. We get to bring in anything reasonable. 4 Bank Busters. We get to bring in our 3 Bank Busters, 4 Vetoes, Elspeth Conquers Death, Kutzel's Flanker, Get Lost. Do we want Rest in Peace? It would stop all those Memory Deluges. Maybe we gotta keep a Torch the Tower as an extra way to deal with a Narset. It did, I guess, snipe things at some point. Yeah, let's try something like that. 2 Torch the Towers. All right, on to game 2 against the control deck. That game made me wish we had more Boiler Biggles. Like, that game made me wish we had maybe 3 instead of 4, like more top end. The thing is, Pioneer in general is a pretty aggro format. So I feel like it's hard to overload too much on that stuff, because then you're going to lose against aggro, where they just draw the curve out hands. Well, this is interesting. We have Enigmatic Incarnations for days. However, I don't know that we can actually resolve them or anything else. Oh, can we draw land? Can we draw land? We can. Okay, Jetmir's Gardens. Well, pulling ahead on mana against the control deck is absolutely massive. Ooh, opponent finds land number 3. Okay. Well, let's Nylea's Presence. Draw a card. Hopefully hit a land. Play Temple Garden. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. So next turn we can play a Fable. Oh, wow, opponent. Another land hit. Well, play the Fable. Opponent's going to change the equation. Pass the turn. Play the land. A very sad Enigmatic Incarnation with no real enchantments on the battlefield. Opponent, Mystical Dispute. Alright, yep. I mean, we can sack the Nylea's Presence, but then we're only getting a 3, and none of our 3s do anything at the moment. Opponent, passing. Let's impend an Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Okay, put it on top. I mean, our opponent's drawn a lot of counters. I will give them that. Passing. Well, instant replay. Let's impend an Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Alright. Pulling further ahead in mana. That is good. That is good. Pass the turn. Unimpend. Opponent. Now we can Enigmatic Incarnation to get a Boiler Biggle. Yeah, I don't think it's worth spending a counter on that. Opponent passes. Play an Incarnation. Good Lord. All right. Well, I mean, we're getting through the counters because that is like our opponent's. Oh my, no. The misclick. Wow. Okay. Unpunished for the misclick. Let's play an untap land and play an Enigmatic Incarnation. All right. We will Dovin's Veto it. The amount of counters our opponent has in this hand is kind of jaw-dropping. All right, pass the turn. Mother of God. Our opponent has drawn all the counters, that is for sure. Holy. Passing. We draw nothing. Well, we'll grab this Yariad. Opponent. Makes a 2/2. Well, we will torch the tower. Get rid of the Wandering Emperor. Opponent untaps. Yeah, maybe control is just not a good matchup for this deck. Opponent, land on blue. Also, I do not know how our opponent managed to hit all these land drops. That is kind of blowing my mind. Passing with three more counters in hand, presumably. Well, Bankbuster is a good card. We'll see if it's fast enough. Let's play a Bankbuster. Opponent finds another counter. Well, let's play a Biza to get a body on the battlefield. I mean, even when Biza doesn't trigger, it's still a 4/5. Opponent untaps. Passing. Well, there's an Up the Beanstalk, finally. Play the Up the Beanstalk. Draw a card. Alright, let's start cracking maps. Definitely keeping another Up the Beanstalk. Alright, pass the turn. I think we have to let our opponent Memory Deluge here. We only have one counter at the moment. We want to save that for a Teferi maybe, or something, a Farewell, something along those lines. Opponent plays a land. 5 cards in hand. All right, well, we're hoping these Up the Beanstalks draw us back into this game. Up the Beanstalk number 2 draws us a card. Sacred Foundry, untapped. Yariad draws a couple cards. And blink, blink, blink. All right, pass the turn, get everything back, draw a couple more cards. Wouldn't mind finding another Dovin's Veto. Land, and all right, Bankbuster. Bankbuster is fine at least. All right, what do you got, opponent? Wandering Emperor, sure. Definitely not interested in spending a counter on Wandering Emperor. I don't think Wandering Up. Wow, just gonna tick it up. They must be trying to set up a Wrath. I think if they have a creature-only Wrath, we let it go. If they have a Farewell, I think we gotta defend the Beanstalks or attempt to. Like, the Bees of Yarion, whatever, but... Farewell. Yes. That is worthy of the Dovin's veto. The Farewell has been dealt with. Wow, just takes up the Wandering Emperor. We draw a land. Okay, let's first crack the map on the Biza. See what our top card is. Roaring Furnace, Steaming Sauna. I think we go Graveyard. We're just going face. Hit ya. Down to 3. Plus we want to draw these cards. So Leyline Binding, draw 2. We really want to find another Dovin's Veto would be the best. Just one more counter spell just in case. Found it. They found a Dovin's Veto. Doesn't stop the card draw though. If we ever find an Overlord, we need a Boiler Biggles. A Boiler Biggles straight up wins us the game. Leyline Binding number 2 draws some cards. Get rid of the Wandering Emperor.
Have much to learn.
Impende Hauntwoods, draw a couple cards. Dovin's Veto. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Atwara. Well, play the Hushwood Verge. And pass the turn. Discard a couple lands. Alright, I mean, opponent needs an answer. We have put them to the point. This is very much like last game. Except last game, our opponent had all 4 Memory Deluges. Alright, opponent's gonna get lost. Sure. So opponent's basically in the hope you never draw Boiler Biggles stage of the game. So opponent wraths for now. Passes. Leyline Binding. Well, let's play a Bankbuster. And draw with Bankbuster. And play a Fable. And opponent. Oh, scoops it up. Alright. Well... Definitely not quick and easy, but we can apparently beat the control deck after sideboarding. I mean, I guess this is a fine setup. What a game that was. Opponent had so many counters. They had so many counters. I mean, that was... I can't believe our opponent, after keeping that the hand where they missed the land drop, managed to get back into it through that. And I thought for a minute we were going to run away with that one. But control finds a way. What can we do to make this deck stronger against control? I mean, maybe control's fine. I don't know. Maybe it's not that bad. Well, we can't keep this one, sadly. 1 land, no keep. All right. I mean, this we keep, but ugh, not a great hand. Missing colors of mana. Can't actually cast anything. Missing land drops. Well, steam vents go. Gonna need some... I mean, we got 35 lands that we can draw into. Hopefully we draw into them. All right. Temple Garden is good. Temple Garden untapped. This lets us leave up the veto, even though we don't really want to spend it, but we will if we have to. Opponent passes. All right, we will continue hitting lands. Well, let's play Stomping Grounds tapped past the turn. Opponent plains and passes. Well, let's... Sacred Foundry tapped past the turn. Alright, there's Memory Deluge number 1. Opponent's gonna do some digging. Time-wise, yeah, I think our opponent's gonna have enough time to finish out the game. We're like slightly ahead on clock. I think our opponent's playing at a fast enough pace. They should be able to finish off the game. Found it. Hallowed Fountain untapped. To Fairy. Well, we are definitely countering that. Would love to draw land here. No land. Well, okay. And pen the Overlord. The downside of this is we are very shields down. We do have the Leyline Binding, so if our opponent has a second to Fairy, we can answer it, but we don't have a counter up this turn. But we need to hit our land drops. All right, opponent. Ooh, passing? Okay, that's good. Opponent's passing. We draw land. 1, 2, 3, so they can't flash back the Memory Deluge. Let's grab the Yarion. Next turn, we definitely want to cast something to keep them from just using all their mana to Memory Deluge. All right, March of Otherworldly Light, sure. Not going to spend a counter on that. We only have 4 counters, remember, in our entire deck, so we need to save them for the most important of targets. Found it passes. All right, that resolves. So opponent can Memory Deluge. We're not going to spend a Dovin's Veto on it. We are falling a bit behind in lands. The Overlord helped. The Everywhere Land is helping, but we're still falling behind about it. All right, gonna get lost on the Fable. Passes. Hit ya. Make a treasure. Let's play more Fables. Yeah, let's just pass. Leave up all of our counters. More deluges. Wow, okay, we're pretty fine with that. Opponent just spends an Atwara to bounce a Goblin token. It seems like things definitely are better after sideboarding. Yeah, we're just gonna veto that. Teferi is not part of our plans for this game. All right, we've successfully dealt with 2 Teferis now. Let's discard Knight of Autumn. Yeah, let's just discard the Knight of Autumn. Ooh, okay. I'll go to combat, get in with a Goblin. Hit ya. Down to 14. Play the Hushwood Verge. Impendent Overlord. What we want to set up is Overlords into Yarion. Our opponent just makes it difficult with all their counter spells. All right, we'll just pass. Well, oh, we're getting close. Overlord Yarion, or Boiler Biggles Yarion, is 8 damage. Now, opponent passes. Jetmir's Gardens. We get to flip the Fable. Well, let's Boiler Biggles. Opponent really needs to counter this, or otherwise interact with it. 3 steps ahead. All right, we're gonna let it go. Pass the turn. The other thing that we're missing here is up the Beanstalk. We just haven't been able to find one. Opponent's gonna run out a Wandering Emperor. Not gonna spend our counter on that.
My travels.
Yeah, let's answer the Wandering Emperor. So opponent gets the 2/2, untaps. And wow, untap land down to 10. I mean, I guess it has vigilance, sure. Well, let's cycle Jetmir's Garden. Wow, that's an Atraxa. That is an Atraxa. Oh, we really want this Atraxa to come down. Ah, we gotta go for it. We gotta go for it. Atraxa? I mean, this is here to tutor out, not to hardcast, but we will hardcast it if we have to. Mystical Dispute. All right, we will pay. Oh, do we just go in? Do we just go all in? We're gonna go all in. We're gonna go all in. Veto. This Atraxa is good enough to get us to spend our counter. You have 3 counters in hand. No. All right, so now we get to do Atraxa things. We will take, wow, no counter. Triumph, Torch the Tower, up the Beanstalk, Overlord of the Mistmoors. Well, at least we have a lot of action to rebuild. So the worst case here is our opponent just wraths. But if that happens, at least we have a handful of cards to rebuild, and we found an up the Beanstalk, finally. Opponent mills and Ganjo. Show us that, oh, gets, wow, Kahira? Okay. I don't know if that Kahira's gonna save you. Technically, we don't have lethal this turn, though. Actually, can we have lethal this turn? We could, if our opponent has nothing. All right, play a Twara. I think we go for the win. Overlord of the Mistmoors. Not impending. And then clone it. Wow. Wow. I think that's game. I think that's game. Is that game? And then Roaring Furnace to kill the Kahira. Snipe it. Companion down. And I think we're taking down the control deck. Last card. Oh, it's a Wandering Emperor. Okay, opponent gets one more draw. They get one more draw. If they find a Wrath, they're still in the game.
You are not much.
If they find a Wrath, they're still in the game. We unimpend. What do they find? This is the game. All in a draw makes a Samurai. That means it's probably not a Wrath, or else you don't Samurai. Opponent passes. Do the thing? Copy the Overlord? Watch them have a Settle the Wreckage. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. And there's the GGs. Wow. It's a Wandering Emperor, but that is not enough. Opponent can snipe our Overlord, but we will just get the blocker out of the way. Make incredibly sure we have lethal here. Wow. Well, that was impressive. That was a very impressive performance. The power of the Overlords eventually managed to just grind through blue-white control. It was not easy. It was not quick, but in the end, apparently, Overlord of the Mistmoors, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, and Overlord of the Boiler Biggles Better than Teferi and friends, and that was a good win. That was a good win. This deck's sweet, and it's like oddly powerful. Well, might have taken an hour, but it ends with a win, and we're almost through Diamond. Ooh, I think we keep this. We're playing some Overlord Incarnation in Pioneer. Let's just start on the Trio. Hopefully our opponent's playing something where Portable Holes does things. Waste Not. Play Waste Not. Yes. Okay. Portable Hole. Looking good. Looking good. Waste Not. 1 down. Our opponent should not be able to kill that. Black might be able to kill enchantments. Not yet for Artifact. Give it a couple years. I'm sure there will be some imbalance. Some commander player will complain that they lost to a Winter Orb or something. Liliana, gonna take it up. We will discard a Stomping Grounds.
You won't be outside.
That Liliana could be an issue. That could be an issue. Well, let's play a Hinterland Harbor. Impend an Overlord of the Hauntwoods. And pass the turn. I mean, we can torch the tower just to keep it from ultimating at some point. And going after a Triome in Everywhere land. It looks like they want to activate the field. I don't know if it's worth it or not. All right, opponent's going to blow up our Everywhere land. We do have a basic, thankfully. This is our last one. Next Field of Ruin is the Strip Mine. Opponent. All right, we're going to discard Portable Hole. If they had another Waste Not in hand, I feel like they'd be playing it. Let's play High Noon and play a Stomping Grounds untapped and grab Yarion. Unimpend our Overlord. Hostile Investigator. Alright, so we'll discard the Jemir's Garden. Well, I guess we have to discard the Yarion, unfortunately. Drawing a land is not the worst, so we can Temple Garden untapped. We can High Noon the Liliana. And then when our opponent goes to tick up, then we can torch the tower. Opponent's gonna have to discard. Ooh, Strip Mine achieved. All right. Well, we still get to kill the Liliana, but this is not the best for... Wow, we might be losing. All right, get the Liliana. We need to draw, and we need it soon. That's a Shieldred and a Hostile Investigator. We answered the Waste Not, but ooh, that's not the best draw. Sure, yeah. Draw a card, get burnt. Oh, Biza. Biza's actually great. Biza's actually kind of great. Okay, not dead yet, not dead yet, not dead yet. There's a Biza. There's Overlord in the Hauntwoods. Bodies on the battlefield. We still need more because we need a Leyline Binding. That's what we really need. We really need the Leyline Binding to get rid of the Shieldred, and then we're kind of back in business. All right, finds a go for the throat. No attacks. All right, Elish Norn. I mean, that could be good in the future, should we draw anything. Gonna shut down future Hostile Investigators, at least. Are we Gaia Reach Sanitariuming? There's a Waste Not. Ooh, and they can Sanitarium? All right. If we discard a Leyline Binding here... Ooh, Night of Autumn would have actually been good. That would have actually been good. Opponent gets a zombie, gets a bunch of triggers. Come on, deck. Come on, deck. Leyline Binding. Jemir's Gardens. So you drop to 6. Yeah, I mean, we're going to cycle it. We have to. Opponent gets a clue. They make some mana. Leyline Binding. Leyline Binding or bust. Up the Beanstalk. Okay, down to 2. Leyline Binding. Leyline Binding now. We need it. Oh, wait. Okay. Okay, we need off the first draw. Full control. Leyline Binding. Leyline Binding. Boiler Biggles. Well, that's what happens when you can't answer a Shieldred. Maybe we should have kept waiting. If we had drawn that Boiler Biggles. We got so pressured by that Lily. That Lily was really good against us. I think we need to bring in the Bank Busters. Bring in things that can actually kill Shieldred. Torch the tower. Does it even kill anything? We did use it to, like, kill alongside a High Noon, a Liliana, but maybe something like this. There is a downside, right, to having such a big deck, which is we're just not guaranteed to find the things we need. Yeah, maybe the Up the Beanstalk was too greedy. Man, that's a Sheoldred story, right? Sheoldred, it closes out the game really fast if you can't kill it. Discard. We don't have anything that, wow. Oh, mulliganing against discard is the worst. Biza to the bottom. Yeah, you never want to mulligan against a discard deck unless you really have to. You're doing their job for them. Found it. I don't really like this Thoughtseize. Should only discard half a card, or you have to lose 4 life or something. I mean, I guess that's fine, but found it. Takes the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Well, we will play a Temple Garden tapped. I don't think we're going to run out the Roaring Furnace. We would like to get it down for future card draw, but found it plays a Waste Knot. Well, let's play the Verge, grab the Arion. Oh, not having answered for the Waste Knot's pretty not good. Opponent has a Liliana.
My way.
Arion down, opponent gets a zombie.
Me.
Well, Up the Beanstalk's not the worst. Up the Beanstalk, draw a card. Temple Garden untapped. Up the Beanstalk, draw a card. Okay, that might... Oh, in a Leyline Binding. That might change the equation. That might change... 2 Up the Beanstalks is kind of insane here. And we have an answer to the Lily. Found it. Gonna Duress. And we have 2 hands. Okay, opponent's gonna take a Leyline Binding, draw a card. Into another Waste Knot. Into Tick Up Liliana. I mean, we have to discard the Roaring Furnace. Opponent's gonna draw 2. Double Waste Knot, so sketch. Oh, if they go land into another Thoughtseize, opponent hits us. Passes. Well, Sacred Foundry untapped. Elspeth conquers death. Draw a couple of cards. Land and land. All right. Well, not great. We get rid of the Lily.
I'll be back.
Well, we need to draw something. No, you're not. You can't kill that. No, no, no. You're mono black. Oh, god dang it. Nylea's presence. Man, this is going to be just like last game. Gonna be just like last game. Leyline Binding! Wow. And we're going to die to Sheoldred again. Yeah, and that's actually just game, right? I guess we can cycle, but it's got to be... But it doesn't even work, because if we Leyline Binding, it triggers up the Beanstalks. So we cycle, Leyline Binding, die. Yeah. Well, we have met our match. And that is Sheoldred and not find... The funny thing is we have answers for Sheoldred. We just couldn't find them in a timely manner, and that was not even close. Wow, maybe discard. Maybe discard's very good against us. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? We kind of have specific things we need to resolve, and then our engine is drawing a bunch of cards, which means we always have a million cards for our opponent to trigger Waste Knot with, and Sheoldred is just absolutely insane against us. Playing some Overlord Incarnation. This hand we're going to keep. We have a lot of Leyline Bindings. They're going to be cheap thanks to the Overlord. We'll see what our opponent's up to. Opponent. And Thoughtseize. Oh no. Is this Waste Knot twice in a row? Oh, okay, that's a draw that I like. Let's play a Verge. Up the Beanstalk, draw a card. Up the Beanstalk, I think probably our most important card against a discard deck. Very scared of... Oh, okay, so not mono black discard. Orzhov? What is our opponent? Well, we will... Sacred Foundry and Impend an Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Draw a card. Overlords with Up the Beanstalk. They work really well with Enigmatic Incarnation. They also work really well with Up the Beanstalk. Being able to impend them but still trigger it. Kind of wild. We haven't seen like a real nut draw with this deck. I think there's a world where we just like Overlord, sack it to Incarnation, get a Boiler Biggles, and just like kill people really quick. Instead, we've mostly played really long, grindy, grindy value-y games. Spirited Companion. Oh, maybe this is Doom Foretold. Might be Doom Foretold. Do we want a High Noon? Is it worth High Nooning? We can always sack it in the future. Yeah, let's play a High Noon. Sacred Foundry untapped. Grab the Arion. Unimpend our Overlord. Alright, one spell to turn for everyone. Hopeless Nightmare. Now, they still kind of are a discard deck. We'll discard a Katir Triumph. Well, and it gets and hits us down to 13 and passes. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just run out the Arion. Run out the Arion, draw a card. Blink, blink. Play the Triumph. Get back up the Beanstalk and the Overlord. Get everywhere, land, draw a card. And that's a lot of power. That's a lot of power on the battlefield. The synergies in this deck are so sweet. About it. Trial of Ambition. Well, we'll just sack the Yariad. Ooh, another Leyline Binding. Well, that'll be good eventually. Let's get in with Overlord. Hit ya. Our opponent also has to keep in mind that we do have 5 damage with this High Noon on the battlefield. So the clock is quicker than it looks. If our opponent plays some silly Edict, I think we just bounce the Overlord, probably. We're up to 3 Everywhere lands, so we can replay it pretty easily. Archon of Sun's Grace. Yes, that must go. Leyline Binding. Draw a card. Get rid of the Archon. And I think we're going to cash in the High Noon now. Let's just 5 them. Hit you down to 7. Torch the tower. Get rid of the Spirited Companion. Put you to 1. Boiler Biggle. Can we draw? Well, okay. Opponent scoops it up. Didn't even need the Boiler Biggle. Well, Elspeth Conqueror's Death seems good. So this has got to be Orzhov Doom Foretold. Get Lost seems good. Bankbuster is probably fine. Do we want vetoes is the question. We can probably like trim a couple portable holes. Trim a couple, torch the towers. Maybe the Biza. It's so tough because we want our curve for Enigmatic Incarnation purposes, so we don't necessarily want to cut the Biza just because it's one of our only 4s. Maybe we can go down like a Roaring Furnace. I kind of want like maybe 2 vetoes if we can find room. We can probably go down a High Noon. Actually, let's go down 2 High Noons. I don't think High Noon is actually... It's so funny. Last time we played Pioneer, we were playing a actual High Noon deck, and it was insane in most of our matchups. This time, playing Pioneer, same format, but it's been a lot less insane. We've had a lot more matchups where it's kind of like medium to bad instead of just busted. This hand's good if we can get down the Bankbuster. If they thought he's the Bankbuster, this hand's worse. Definitely worse. Alright. Yeah, we were kind of leaning on that Bankbuster. Yeah, Bankbuster down. You know what? Let's hold on to this Triome. There is a world where this Triome ends up getting cycled. If we just keep drawing lands, it might be necessary. About it. Even more thought seizes. Alright, well, let's draw a card advantage on you. Opponent takes Alishnorn. Plays a Pathway. Hopeless Nightmare. That is a lot of discard. Yeah, we'll pitch the Steam Beds. Elspeth Conquers Death. I mean, could be good if we can get to it. Definitely good if we can get to it. I don't know if we can get to it. Found it land. Another Hopeless Nightmare. Well, we're going to pitch this Portable Hole. And a Spirited Companion. Sure. Well, play the land, grab the Yariad. Got hit by 4 discard spells already? We needed that Bankbuster. Bankbuster up the Beanstalk would really improve things here. And... Ooh, a Viper? Oh god. So that's what our opponent's up to. So they're not really a wow, they just had like a very discardy draw into the Viper. I don't know if we beat this Viper, honestly. We have 2 tap lands. Oh, maybe we should have played the... If we had played the Jamir's Garden on turn 1, things might look differently. Opponent gets to scry a million times. We need a top deck, and we need it right this turn. Well, we'll pitch the Yariad. That's not a top deck. Play the Jamir's Garden. Pass the turn. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, opponent goes to combat attacks, hits us. We will discard a Jamir's Garden, go to 11. Take the Viper down to 5. Our only realistic plan here is shock this in. Oh, there's a Leyline Binding. I think we still do it. Shock it in. Elspeth Conquers Death. We're at 3. That is not a lot of life. Thankfully, it's much better than 2 against a Hopeless Nightmare deck. About it. Fracture, okay. This Hive of the Eye Tyrant's going to beat us in 2 turns. Doom Foretold. Alright, that kind of gets around the Doom Foretold, because our opponent's got to sack it. But if they draw land, they just kill us with Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Archon of Sun's Grace. Well, there's up the beanstalk. We need to draw into something. Boiler Biggles, Bankbuster, and dead. All right. Well, it turns out 4 discard spells. That's a lot. That is a big number of discard spells. Now we know what our opponent's doing. They're a snake deck. Well, maybe we want the second Biza and the Roaring Furnace, and maybe we don't actually want the Dovin's Vetoes. Let's try it like that. So our opponent's just trying to get down. They are Doom Foretold, but also with Viper. I mean, we are keeping this hand faster than we've ever kept a hand before. Double up the beanstalk is what we want to see. We'll see how much discard they have, but in theory, up the beanstalk, Impend Boiler Biggles is a great start for our deck. How about a tap land? All right, Pathway. About it. Thoughtseize. All right, takes an up the beanstalk. Well, we will play a Hushwood Verge up the beanstalk, draw a card. Fable's pretty good. Well, we haven't up the beanstalk down, so at least we got a card advantage engine. Opponent, tap land. Hopeless Nightmare. Well, in that case, we will discard the Jetmir's Gardens. Play a Stomping Grounds. Get down Fable the Mirror Breaker. Pass the turn. All right, 2 discard spells again. Opponent's still very good at drawing the discard. Sign in. Ooh, the Desperation Sign in Blood to draw a couple cards looking for the land drop. Did they find it? They did. Do they have another discard spell? They do. Hopeless Nightmare. Well, let's discard the Stomping Ground. Little greedy, but I think it's worth it here. Well, we draw land anyway. We are not going to discard to the Fable. Get in with the Goblin. Hit ya. I think we just play Bankbuster. Play the Bankbuster. Temple Garden untapped past the turn. Start drawing with Bankbuster. Found it. Guy or Reach Sanitarium. And Doom Foretold. All right, thankfully we have some sack fodder this game. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Draw for our turn. Get in with a Goblin. Hit ya. So we do need stuff to sack. Do we Boiler Biggle is the question. I think we do. Let's impend the Overlord. Draw a card off Beanstalk. Hit you down to 8. Steam Vents, untapped, past the turn. Alright, opponent gotta sack the Hopeless Nightmare. They get to scry. Oh, we're so close. We're so close. About it. The Doom Foretold deck looks sweet. Viper, like, kind of gives a backup almost to Doom Foretold, which is a huge deal. Doom Foretold in the past, it's such a cool... We might have to try Doom Foretold. I think Pioneer might be my new Eternal format. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think Pioneer might be what I want out of non-rotating formats at the moment. It should be like Modern, when Modern was at its best. Like, if you look at the size of the card pool and whatnot, it's very similar to when Modern was at its best. Found it. Swamp. Off the Treacherous Blessing. Trial of Ambition. Well, let's draw with the Bankbuster. We lose the Goblin token. Upkeep. Draw with the Bankbuster. And then we can sack the Bankbuster. Draw for our turn. Yeah, let's impend. Draw a card. Get a land, play the Trio. I think what we're trying to set up here is a turn where we Yarion and cast it in the same turn. I think that's what we really want to be doing. So opponent's going to sack the Treacherous Blessing. The question for us is going to be, what do we sack? I don't really want to sack anything, and it has to be non-token. Maybe we sack the Overlord of the Hauntwood? Oath of Kaya, sure. All right, gonna hit us down to 7. Pass. Sack the Overlord of the Hauntwood. Grab Yarion. Play the land. Cast the Yarion. Draw a card. There's an Incarnation. Blink and blink. End of turn. Get it back. Draw a card. Hit you down to 5. All right, opponent. Let's see what you got, opponent. Doom Foretold. The funny thing is both decks are so good at putting permanents on the battlefield. This Doom Foretold has been out for a lot of... Usually Doom Foretold does not stick around this long. I don't know, is our opponent playing Wraths? That's going to be the big question. They kind of need a sweeper. I guess like multiple targeted removal spells could also be good. We might get stuck having to sack our up the Beanstalk. I mean, if we get to attack with the Boiler Biggles, that should be the game. Spirited Companion, okay. I mean, we do have an answer to that. We can torch the tower, opponent draws a card. The other thing they don't know about is we have this Heliod that can get back the Boiler Biggles, and we have the mana to cast it. See our opponent hovering their permanents, I feel like that means, all right, there's the Viper, sack and sack. Sure. We will just discard a land. This should do it, right? So we sack up the Beanstalk. However, attack, four to the face, and then Yarion for the rest. Wow. Okay, well, that is what a game looks like when Doom Foretold sticks out for the entire game. Opponent's gonna block, but it's not gonna matter. All right, we might have to try building around Doom Foretold with Viper. I know our opponent didn't win that one, but I really, really like the idea of what Doom Foretold and Viper do together. Because like I was saying before, the problem with Doom Foretold in the past, well, one of the problems was you really only have Doom Foretold. You don't draw it, and your deck is playing all these like kind of janky cards and not really doing its thing. But now you have Viper that wants the same janky cards on the battlefield, and then you just sack them all to Viper. So I feel like it should make Doom Foretold way better. Yeah, I like that idea. We're gonna have to do some Doom Foretolding at some point. Much ado about nothing, Dot. Come on, deck. No lands. Much ado about nothing time. We are playing some Enigmatic Overlords in Pioneer, and we're going to keep this, put the Hellish Norn to the bottom, sadly. I like Hellish Norn, but not the hand for it. A little bit expensive on the mulligan. Also, it's one of those things that's not bad having the deck to tutor up, potentially, if we find an Enigmatic Incarnation. Stomping Grounds for our opponent, and a Springleaf Drum. This could be a Kona deck, I guess. When I see a Springleaf Drum, especially without obvious artifact synergies, like Stomping Grounds is not the color of Affinity. Oh, okay. Maybe they're just a weird Affinity deck. Oh, it's another Heart and Scales deck. Well, opponent passes. We will play the land. How do we want to do this? I kind of want to answer this. I guess we just do it now? Yeah, let's do it now. Torch the tower, get rid of the Patchy. It'd be nice to be running out the Overlord of the Hauntwoods, but I think this is safest. Plus, this cuts our opponent theoretically off of mana. Found it, Iron Apprentice with an extra counter. Steel Overseer. Oh, we whiff on land. So in that case, I guess we need to Roaring Furnace. Kill the Steel Overseer. Portable Hall. Get rid of the Iron Apprentice. Well, we will just kill everything and trust that we will eventually start making lands with this Overlord of the Hauntwoods. Opponent, Beseiju, and Innkeeper's Talent. I mean, that is very scary. Leveling up. All right, let's do the thing. Fable would be nice, but I really want this everywhere land because it's gonna make our Leyline Binding cost 1 mana. Plus, we've been missing land drops. We have the same amount of lands as Heart and Scales, which is not what we're really hoping to do. Ozolith. Well, there's the Hushwood Verge. Play the land. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's unlock our room. I do not know that this is correct. It might be better to add something to the battlefield, but I feel like with how this game's playing out, if we just keep killing things, ooh, Volnaren Thrillseeker, gonna back it up, get a couple counters. That's actually big enough to get around our Boiler Biggles, which is awkward. Sacred Foundry. Well, let's Leyline Binding. Get rid of the Thrillseeker. We probably don't want that to remain alive. Opponent can sack it if they want to deal 8. Yeah. But then we can get a Yarion. Play Sacred Foundry tapped. This is going to let us blink the Leyline Binding to get rid of something next turn. Opponent needs like another Thrillseeker plus Hangerback Waka. Man, everything is coming to play with a lot of counters. That is a lot of counters. Ooh, Portable Hole's nice though. Let's Portable Hole. This is actually an insanely good draw. Portable Hole, get rid of the Hangerback Walker. Wow, gonna sack it to torch the tower. All right, so opponent makes 1,000,000/1/1s, which is actually kind of an issue. Let's play Boiler Biggles. Wait, are we just dead? That torch the tower was so good. We get a ton of triggers. I mean, next turn we're gonna have a big turn, but is it a big enough turn? I'm actually not sure, because they had so many counters to things. Our plan of killing everything did... Wow, another one! Oh god, another Hardened Scales. So opponent, gonna put a counter. It's actually 1,000,000 counters, then put a counter. It's actually 1,000,000 counters, and we're dead? Wow. Oh no! Well, that game, I don't think we did anything wrong. Our opponent just had the right cards. I mean, I guess if we did something wrong, maybe, you know what? Maybe that turn we took to open up our room was just too much greed. Maybe that's what we did wrong. Maybe we just needed to slam like anything to add something to the battlefield. That's a possibility. That might have went better for us if we had went that direction. Still, that Hangerback Walker, I thought we were in a good position. I thought we were going to run away with that game, honestly. I was not expecting the torch the tower to protect the Hangerback Walker. Opponent drew an insane amount of ways to put counters on things. Double Hardened Scales, Innkeeper's Stand with the Ozolith. Now those things really matter if our opponent can't keep cards on the battlefield or creatures on the battlefield, but the Hangerback Walker came through to save the day and get through all of our removal. Alright, I mean, this we're gonna keep. It can kill a bunch of things. Doesn't do much else. Where's our beanstalk? Why do we never get the beans? We need to draw lands. That's what we need most. Pound it. Plays a land and a ranger class. Sure. Alright, let's kill the wolf. Land. Okay, Nylea's Presence. Not a land, but it is a redraw. Land! Land! We need a land. Get lost. Oh, opponent, land number 3, has pulled ahead of us on lands, plays Apache that apparently we will never be able to kill because we can't draw lands. Well, there's an Up the Beanstalk, that's a redraw. Land. Magic gods. Magic gods. Seriously, magic gods. We are playing 35 lands. It's not like we're being greedy. We have an absurd amount of lands in our deck. We just are unable to draw them. Opponent can exile our Up the Beanstalk with a Haywire Mite. And then level up their Ranger class, I assume. Sure. Up the Beanstalk down. Opponent gains a couple life. Gonna turn on that Ranger class. Alright, can we draw an untapped land? If we can kill the Apache. We draw a tap land, alright? So we play a tap land, and I mean, I guess we just have to play another Beanstalk. That's all we can realistically do. Knight of Autumn, good card, but not a land. Wow, yeah, we're gonna lose to our lack of lands here. Steal overs here, grows the Apache. Opponent gonna tap it for mana. Plays another Springleaf Drum to grow the Apache. Gets in for 6, gets in for 7. Yeah, down to 9. We draw Fable the Mirror Breaker. Also not a land. Well, I mean, the only thing we can really do here is Portable Hole, try to get rid of this Apache. Pay the 2. Alright, that threat dealt with for now. We have a bunch of removal in hand, we just can't really deploy it because we're not hitting our land drops. Opponent thinking about leveling up the Ranger class. Instead, goes for a Hangerback Walker. And passes. Play the land. Play the Roaring Furnace. To get rid of the Steel Overseer. And then torch the tower to get rid of the Hangerback Walker. Alright, opponent, same play, gets a couple Thopters. Scries to the top. And now the Thopters get counters. We cannot catch a break. Opponent, another Hardened Scales. We take 6, down to 3. We do draw land, thank the magic gods. So we will Knight of Autumn, blow up one of the Thopters. Alright, another Torch the Tower, sure. Wow, we might be able to stabilize here. We might. Opponent strides to the bottom. I think why our opponent is tapped out, we just kill this Thopter. Get rid of the Thopter. Well, come on. No big draws, no big draws, no big draws, no big draws. So this is a 2 right now, right? All right, so play an Enigmatic Incarnation. Play the tap land. I think this works. We can sack the Roaring Furnace, get a Skyclave, answer the Clothis. Whew, staying alive, just barely. Opponent. Hangerback Walker. Gonna start adding counters. Finds a Mutavault, plays a Mutavault. So we need we really need a Leyline Binding would be the best. That would be the best. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. Yeah, let's play Elish Norn. Draw a card. Heliod. No attacks. Sack this Nylea's Presence. Glass Pool. This is pretty good. Copy the Skyclave. Double trigger. Get rid of the Hangerback. Oh, an opponent scoops it up. Whew. Okay. Wow, our opponent almost got us. Wait, is Hardened Scales good now? Is Hardened Scales good in Pioneer? I really gotta start playing more Pioneer. If there's one thing I've been convinced of playing this deck, in the last matches we played in Pioneer, like, it should be Modern when Modern was at its best. I guess we probably want this Lightning Helix too. Go down another high noon. Peak Modern, I would say, was like, I want to say 2015, 2016, 2014, somewhere in that range. Modern started, the first expansion set was Mirrodin, came out in 2003, which means what I would consider to be the peak time of Modern. Modern had about, let's say 12 years-ish of sets worth, of sets in it. 12, 13, somewhere in that range. That's what I would consider to be Modern at its absolute finest. And that was before all the supplemental products started coming in, all that kind of stuff. Ooh, experimental synthesizer, nice. It was before all that stuff. Well, that's a lucky hit off experimental synthesizer. Hits the 1, gets down the Springleaf Drum, Hinterland Harbor, and past the turn. But it was about 12 years of sets. If you look at Pioneer right now, Pioneer started with Return to Ravnica. Return to Ravnica release 2013. Yeah, let's play a Plains or a Hushward Verge. And then get rid of the Innkeeper's Talent. Probably a little risky to keep that around. But Return to Ravnica, the first set in Pioneer, 2012, October 2012. It's 2024. That means we have basically 12 sets worth of Modern in existence right now. Like 12 years worth of sets. Ugh, I said that all wrong. We have roughly 12 years worth of sets in Pioneer right now, which would put it right in that sweet spot where Modern was at its finest. So I actually think I'm going to start playing a lot more Pioneer because I feel like Pioneer should just be awesome. It should just be super cool. And our recent games with it have sort of been backing that up. Let's play the land. Yeah, let's Roaring Furnace. Gonna hold on to the Torch, the Tower, and the Ley Line. Those deal more effectively with stuff like Hangerback Walker, which actually has an annoying death trigger. We need another red source. Our mana is a little clunky at the moment. Opponent, wow. Sacking the Synthesizer to make the Knight. Finds a Hangerback. Can't really play it. Do you have a land? I don't know about our opponent's Synthesizer management. I feel like they're wasting a lot of potential cards, but maybe they just, yeah, opponent's gonna cast it, it's gonna die. Opponent passes. Hey, that's a red source. All right, this is pretty good. Time to do some Bigglesing. Do we Biggles? If we wait a turn, we can play a creature mode. Yeah, let's just Biggles. Biggles to save the day. Well, a little Boiler Biggling, and yeah, we're gonna waste some damage, but we're gonna kill the Knight. Knight down. Unimpend past the turn. Oh, it hurts so much to see these cards going to waste. But I guess if you got nothing else to do. What is our opponent holding? A bunch of removal? All right, they hit a land, so the card's not completely going to waste. Stomping Grounds, untapped. More Springleaf Drummond. Ooh, that's a red source. Well, let's grab a Yarion and play a Verge and pass the turn. Now we want kind of a blue source for this Steaming Sauna. I can't resist the card draw. Even if it's not good for us, I can't resist the card draw. Opponent combat gets in with the Knight. We will take it. Down to 16. Sure. Opponents. We're gonna Biggles, yeah. We're gonna Big. Wow, Atraxa. Let's play the land I mean, let's just play the Arion. What else are we doing with our lives? Get down the Arion. Do a little Biggles Blink. I think in this deck, actually, maybe we're being so greedy. Wow, an opponent scoops it up. We might be being way too greedy by ever trying to turn on the Steaming Sauna, or like frequently trying to turn on the Steaming Sauna. This might be a case where, it's counterintuitive as it is, the power of Roaring Furnace might be that we actually blink it with the Arion, even though it's going to relock the room. And it's essentially a removal spell that we can use multiple times with the Arion for 2 mana. So I think maybe, rather than thinking of this as like, okay, it's a removal spell, and then we're going to turn on Steaming Sauna, and then we invested so much mana into it that we never want to actually blink it because we're going to pay all the mana again. Maybe we should be thinking of it as 2 mana removal spell, blink it with the Arion, get another 2 mana removal spell in the future. That might be the best way to do it. Well, game 1, we got to see the power of the Hardened Scales really popping off. In the future, though, games 2 and 3 went much better. Honestly, we didn't even sideboard that much. That game 1 draw, my God. Honestly, game 1, if they didn't have the way to sack the Hangerback Walker, the Torch to the Tower, I think we would have won game 1 as well. They just had their last card was perfect for that situation. They had so many Hardened Scales, but, well, that is Overlord Incarnation. The deck actually seems, let's do a little wrap up. Let's do a little wrap up here. Let's pull up our untapped.gg. I've been playing, I think I've gotten like 10 matches with this deck. Let's see where we're at. And then we'll do a little wrap up. I gotta say, so I've already been seeing the praises of Pioneer. Expect more Pioneer. Let me know what you think about more Pioneer. I kind of want to play more Pioneer though, but let me know what you think. It's coming to Arena fully now, hopefully, with Pioneer Masters coming somewhat soon. But let me know what you think about the Pioneer format, because like I was saying, I feel like this format should be amazing right now. It's just like, it should be what Modern was when I loved Modern the most. We just got to make it that, right? We got to play it and do cool things in it. So I'm really hyped about more pioneering. But record-wise, if we pull up our untapped.gg, where are we at here? Untapped.gg, here we are. 70%. We went 7-3. 7-3 with the deck. Just short of Mythic. I feel like the deck worked pretty well. I guess there's technically, 5-3, I guess, technically, after we changed Seal away for Portable Hole. But still, 70% win rate, pretty good. More importantly, the deck just plays really fun. Like, it has so much going. We got to see some of those lines. The new Overlords have added a lot of raw power. Now we have more just like win the game cards, which is really nice, and they're so incredibly perfect for this deck. Like, I almost think someone who was designing Duskmourn probably has an Enigmatic Incarnation deck in Pioneer, because it's almost like they're built for it, because they work on both ends, right? They're cheap enchantments that we can get on the battlefield to sack 2 Enigmatic Incarnation, but technically they have a high mana value, so we can play this for 3 mana, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, but sack it to get a 6-drop. We can play an Overlord of the Boiler Biggles for 4 mana, but sack it to get a 7-drop, like Mistmoors or Atraxa. So they work incredibly well on that side, being these cheap enchantments thanks to Impend. They have high mana values, but they work on the other side too, and that's what makes this deck so intriguing, is they're also enchantment creatures, so we can tutor them out with Enigmatic Incarnation. So it was something that we can sack our Overlord of the Hauntwoods and get a Boiler Biggles and burn you, and then sack the Boiler Biggles, and then get an Overlord of the Mistmoors and make a ton of tokens. So the synergies are just like so sweet in this deck. So I love this deck. I think the deck's really fun. It is obviously expensive to put together. Definitely not the opposite of a budget deck on Magic Arena, just because it's 80 cards, right? And look at this huge stack of dual lands. It's like an infinite number of rares and mythics to put this deck together, but it's really fun. It's got tons of sneaky lines thanks to the Enigmatic Incarnation, be able to tutor things up, very customizable. That's the other upside of this, right? Is it plays kind of like a birthing pod deck. So if you ever run into a problem, you can find something on curve that's a creature to get within Enigmatic Incarnation to be able to solve that problem, like Biza. Not a card we want to draw most matches, maybe, but if we run into aggro and we're low on life, it's the perfect card to have chilling in our deck to be able to sack a Fable the Mirror Breaker or whatever and get a Biza to stabilize our life total or whatever. So I feel like our Atlas Norn, I guess, is another good example of this. Is just like absolutely locks down some decks, but in other matchups you don't really want it because it just dies. In Enigmatic Incarnation makes it really easy to find those cards when it's good. So all around, I will say, Enigmatic Overlords, the deck is really good. good. The new Overlords are absurd in the deck. The shell's really fun. You get to do a ton of cool things and draw bunches of cards and tutor all kinds of stuff. So if you like kind of sneaky, grindy, potty style decks, definitely recommend this one for Explorer and Pioneer, thanks to the new Overlords. Also, let me know what you think about Pioneer. I mentioned this a few times, but what do you think about playing more Pioneer? Because I'm very intrigued by this format right now post-bannings, but let me know what you think about more Pioneer in the comments. Anyway, that has been Enigmatic Overlords and Pioneer. That's been our Much Abrew for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.